Good afternoon, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. It's so nice to see everybody here and actually see so many faces. It's nice then having the Microsoft Live event so you guys can see us. Just make sure that you guys' microphones are on mute. If you do have a question, please use the raise hand feature. It's located at the top of your screen next to the chat. Throughout the presentation, we will go ahead and stop and allow you guys to ask questions. You guys can also put the questions in the chat, and Ryan, Whitney, Matt, and I will be able to feed those questions to Tracy. Just a couple quick announcements before we jump into this statewide evaluation meeting here. I did want to let everybody know that we will get the December statewide PowerPoint and a recording posted onto OhioFFA.org in the very near future. My apologies for not getting that posted sooner. And then this PowerPoint recording and meeting recording will be posted by early next week at the very latest. So again, thank you guys for taking the time to join us this afternoon. If you guys have questions, use the raise hand feature, or you guys can use the chat. Tracy, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you. And Tracy, if you're talking, you are on mute.
All right, that should fix that. Alyssa, let me go back to my share. All right, guys, good afternoon and welcome to an evaluation orientation. Two things usually tell me we are approaching evaluation season. One is usually snowing, and it is snowing here in a lot of places, so there's a check. And number two, I'm lambing sheep, and we have not started that, so I feel like we have a few days here to really kind of get into the thick of things. What I'm going to go over today is just some of the highlights that's going to focus our attention on the evaluation process and some of the how-tos as to what it's going to look like for you guys. And to be all honest, it's not going to look very different compared to last year. And so I feel like with those similarities in mind, you guys should be pretty comfortable once you get back on the controllers in AET and the system. You're going to find yourself very familiar with being there before, and I think you're going to be comfortable with the way things are going to roll for you. So we'll look at the pre-evaluation process just a little bit. We'll look at some officer book process. I'm going to walk you through how to upload and submit your documents for evaluation. And again, just kind of give you a nice overview of where we're going here in the next 30 to 45 days. The next set of slides, guys, are literally just copied out of the state FFA evaluation letter. If you have not seen that letter, you don't know what that letter looks like, you don't know where that letter is located, that letter is located on OhioFFA.org under programs. Click on evaluations, and it is the very first thing in the top left corner of that web page. When you open that, that is a very extensive and comprehensive document that tells you everything and all things evaluation season. And so if you have not reviewed that letter, I would encourage you to do so, because it will answer a lot of questions maybe that you have or concerns that may come up as you're working through the process. All of your district or sub-district pre-evaluations will occur prior to February 6th. Your district chairs will be in charge of those events. And we will open the window to submit state submission list, which that's the one we're going to use the whole time, is the state submission list that will upload your degree applications for your rounds at your district level. So those pre-evaluations are all coordinated through your district chair. And so when you have questions about district evaluations, don't hesitate to contact those folks with getting that assistance in terms of what the procedure will be or when your dates are. Our state evaluation timeline begins February 6th at 9 p.m. being the deadline for all applications due in the state submission list. And when we say all applications, those are your state degrees, your STAR state degrees, your American degrees, your STAR American degrees, and all of the proficiency awards must be submitted in that state application, state submission list by February 6th, hard deadline, 9 p.m. February 10th, then through the 13th, will be the first round of evaluations looking at those documents that are in that list for state evaluation. Again, this evaluation is going to occur remotely for state and American degrees. Schools that submit state degrees or American degrees must have at least one representative teacher serving on that state evaluation committee. And so we will put those things together. But again, you are expected to be online virtually evaluating the 10th through the 13th of the state and American degrees. And Brenda will be handling the assignments of those applications. February 15th, we will release back to you the status and the comments of those degree applications. Anything that doesn't qualify as approved and need to be resubmitted, those are going to be due back by the February 20th date, again at 9 p.m. There will be a resubmit list in the state submission list, and that will be the one that you use. Those degrees then are going to be reviewed February 24th by a governance review committee assembled at the state level at the FFA center, and those are going to consist of your district chairs, your FFA advisory representatives, and your FFA Board of Trustees representatives. And that group of individuals will review those degrees that were needing corrections or edits and were resubmitted to be evaluated, again, both the state and the American degrees. February 25th and 26th is going to look a little bit more normal to you guys, as that is going to be our state evaluation for our proficiency applications and our STAR degrees. And we're going to do that in person at the FFA Center using the electronic system with the scoring rubric, and it will be electronically scored versus paper pencil. And the applications will also be electronically sorted to the proficiency areas for you to evaluate via the screen instead of paper pencil. And then we're going to move into those March dates. March 7th begins your national chapter application deadline at 9 p.m. and that's parts 1 and 2. March 11th at 9 p.m. is going to be the final degree submit, which those are going to be the ones who come out of governance who still needed some corrections that meet the qualifications. And those would be due, and those are going to be a $35 charge as normal, as it has been in the past. March 11th will be the 9 o'clock deadline on that for agri-science fair applications. And then March 15th through the 19th is going to be the national chapter evaluations, which is going to occur remotely, which I believe did last year as well. March the 24th, we will interview those top 4 placing individuals in proficiency and STAR state applications, and those interviews will occur virtually on Zoom. March 29, 30th, and 31st will be the virtual interviews of the top 10 premier national chapter applicants. And then the 5th, 6th, and 7th of April, we will be conducting the agri-science fair interviews virtually on Zoom. and will occur again those dates prior to the convention. Those currently are the questions on the timeline or the points on the timeline. Is anybody in the group have any questions for the good of the cause on that timeline? Again, that is an exact replica of what is in the FFA evaluation letter. All right, then hearing no feedback on dates on the evaluation letter, we'll move forward. A couple of things on some updates that might have changed over the season from our last evaluation that you just need to be aware of, but again, are minor changes and edits, and some of them that you have already been familiar with. But as we're working through these things, and I work with Roger on a regular basis, one of the things, the electronic signature page last year was a new signature page on our state degree for our student, parent, and advisor, and our guidance counselor for the attendance and graduation status if they had graduated, and their percent attendance and GPA on a non-weighted scale. And so again, when you click this, you're going to go to what the view is for the guidance counselor once you send that email for their signature, and they will have to put those components into that document on the signature page for the state FFA degree. I do want to remind you, for those schools who started applicants last year and you held those kids and did not submit them in any shape or form to the state for evaluation, those applications, all of the old signatures were removed from those applications. Now, please do not go in and create a new application just because I told you they removed signatures. They removed those electronic signatures, so those are blank. All you have to do to access your application that you started last year, or you might have started when they were a sophomore, to see if they were on track, is just go into the basic setup in the left margin of the application and change the end date to 2021. And then if you are an AET user and that application remains locked to the student's records, it will update everything flawlessly into students' records. So I know some of you guys call me and you want to look at things, and when I go in there, I see like 10 state degrees because we have one every day, you know, the last 10 days of January. Again, I want you guys to rest assured that if you're an AET subscriber and you have those applications locked to your record, when you make edits in your record, they automatically go to the award applications, and the removal of signatures has no pending detrimental effects on an application that was started last year. Those of you guys that run entrepreneurship projects, we're way past this now, but 1/1 of 22 would have rolled your depreciation schedules for any students that had capital items listed to their entrepreneurship projects. So we're past that now, and those should be rolled pretty flawlessly. The only thing I do remind you is to make sure you go into those capital items that a student may have, and you assign the usage for that depreciation as to where the depreciation is to be assigned to what SAE project for that capital item. So just make sure you go in on entrepreneurship projects and check your usage and make sure those are assigned to the right experience. Looking at proficiency updates, a couple of things have occurred over the summer. Number one, the proficiency applications require 2 years of records. That's a change per National FFA as of 8/21. There no need to panic here. What that means is that the application shows 2 columns, 2020 and 2021. There needs to be records in those 2 columns. So for example, it's not 2 full records, but like a student who might have meat chickens who feeds a set of 30 birds in an 8-week period, he needs to have, you know, records in 2 years from the one deal. So it's not that he has to raise chickens 365 days out of the year. We expect a market broiler project to last as a 6 to 8 week project during the course of that enterprise. The resume no longer is a component of the proficiency application. Those were removed prior to national judging and in the summer judging, and they weren't in the national finalists as well. And so the resume is no longer a component of the proficiency application. Supplemental page, that has evolved over the last few years. The options now available for the supplemental page is that if you are an AET subscriber, you can choose to load your AET records. So if you have a sheep enterprise and you're including market lambs, breeding sheep, and a show string, and you have those 3 checked in your choose AET experiences to go to your sheep application, then it is going to bring those records, those individual SAE records for each of those enterprises to the supplemental page as an attachment. The other option is a one document of 10 megabyte in size. So those are the changes that have kind of surfaced in proficiency awards since last summer, and we will be running on those guidelines as well. Any questions on the updates? Okay. With none, then we'll move into the evaluation process again. And again, this process has not changed. It is very similar to what we did last year. And so we're going to go on those same set of guidelines. I did revise the review sheets for the degree, the state degree and the American degree. Minor changes. I think they're just a little bit more clear and specified to maybe help guide your evaluative decisions as you're moving through a set of applications. Again, each evaluator is going to use that state degree and American degree check sheet. You're going to need to download that and have a paper copy of it as you're working through, because we're going to do the informal evaluation where we're going to use that sticky note process again. And so we're going to use those 2 documents as our guide. And that is what we will be using again to evaluate the records. Specific directions, and these are the same as last year. Remember that you need to evaluate an entire set of records. I'm going to keep saying records. Records does not equal the application. We are evaluating records. And we're going to use this document from the interactive records in AET. If you have alternative records, then you will have to upload those records into the Google Doc that's attached in this presentation. The application link will be available with the records. In my opinion, you don't need it. You may need it for 2 things, which is ag ed enrollment, maybe the activities, and the scholastic achievement signed off by the guidance counselor on the state degrees. That would really be the only reason you would need the application, because if those things are locked and we're evaluating interactive records, those should streamline between the 2. If the records have concerns for corrections, then you guys as evaluators need to provide positive professional feedback in order for the student to make the correction in the records as necessary. Those sticky notes should lead with the problem area. Is it FFA? Is it an SAE activity? Is it an activity itself? Is it community service? Is it inventory? Is it financial? Try to guide your pointed areas of problematic areas with leading where it is. Once that application is complete, we're going to use an R for return and an A for approved. And then that will indicate to us whether or not those things need to be returned to the student and the teacher for corrections to come back on the next round. This is the same system that you guys will be using within your district pre-evaluations as well. Again, I want to just emphasize we're evaluating the records using the interactive record book in AET. Again, we're using those state and American degree review sheets. The links are on each of those. The application is in a separate link with the version number. The version number is the application link, and feedback is going to be captured in the electronic sticky note. Like I said before, we're going to do this on an informal review, okay? Round one is virtual, meaning that all teachers who have submitted applications will be involved in the process of evaluating those state and American degrees. The ones that come out of round one that need to be returned, those are going to be evaluated in person method using our governance committee, again, which is your 10 district chairs, your 10 FFA advisory, and your 5 board of trustees individuals that will make up that governance committee. All the proficiency and star battery awards, those are going to be what we call a formal review using the e-rubric that National FFA has, and you will have copies of our per se cheat sheet that we use in evaluating those points on the rubric. And again, that's going to be an in-person evaluation using the electronic rubric and the electronic applications in a face-to-face manner at the Ohio FFA Center. Okay, any questions to review that? Fabulous. Okay, so this is just going to go in and we're going to look at how you guys need to submit these. And again, I know that this is going to be a review for some of you, and some of you that are new to the system, it's going to be a little more meaningful for you as we go to note where this is. But to be honest, I have all the screenshots here. That platform has not changed. There is one added new feature, which I think you guys are really going to like, that we'll talk about when we get there. Number one, in order to upload an application or submit an application, it needs to have 0 not mets. Okay, it will not put into the system, into the state submission manager. It will not go in with any not mets existing. And so that means it needs to be draft free. And I'm going to encourage you guys at the district evaluation, if applications come in with draft on them, or you, if you're going to look at them on paper, I would encourage you guys not to evaluate those. Those are not a complete application, and I don't know how anybody can provide feedback on an application that still has not met. It's pending, and it's not an eligible application at that point. And so I would encourage you not to evaluate those. So again, district chairs and teachers evaluating, just make sure that the applications are draft free and have 0 not mets. How you're going to access the system is when you're logged in as the teacher in AET, you are going to go to your report tab, and in that far right yellow column, which is reports and submissions, you will access your FFA award degree application manager. In doing so, then you are going to get your degree application manager face. And you'll see at the top, you can pick your chapter level application, or you can review existing applications by type. And when you click on that review applications by type, you can pick the Ohio FFA state degree. A little shout out here, because I really did want Roger to, at AET, remove Ohio-state FFA degree. He indicated to me that he can't remove that because teachers still have inactive students who earned that degree prior to the state FFA degree change. And so because inactive students that are still on your all's active list, that is keeping that state degree in this list for confusion. But we are using the Ohio FFA state degree in the drop-down manager for the current version of the state degree in Ohio. When you pick that, you will pick that end date, which is going to be 12/31/21 now. It will populate then in the box below all of the students who have degrees started pending in their application manager. you can see when they have saved and created a PDF version number, it will create then to the right a version number, a date that the version number was created, and if it has any not mets. So you can manage your applications as a chapter by picking the state degree, and it'll bring all the live applications together, and then you can see students who have created version numbers and students who may have some problems that are showing up in the not mets of how many applications have numbers there and not mets, 1, 2, or 3 not mets that might need some additional assistance to see where they're at on meeting the requirements of the electronic check. Once you get in there, you're going to click on a button called that state submission list and feedback. And you can click browse. And when you click browse, again, it's going to bring you those that have 0 not mets with version numbers. And simply when you click on those in this next slide, it will tell you we can add those. And so once they populate you can see that this application has a version number. The chapter has the student member ID number. It has 0 not mets. It's created. It's ready to go. And the teacher believes that it's ready. They are going to click add, and then it's going to come to a screen like at the bottom where it is sitting in your submission list for the 2022 state degree. And you'll see that it has it been checked in? Is there a status, which our status is always going to be the R and the A. Okay, and then is it viable for the award, or did it receive an award? And then remove. You guys as teachers can remove applications, and you're going to be able to do that during your district and pre-evaluations in your sub-districts as well. Maybe there's a kid who's going to make an edit and you need to remove that version from the submission list. You can remove it and then go back in and re-upload the edited version for the next round of evaluation. So teachers will have the ability to remove those applications back and forth during your pre-evaluation period. Here's the thing that's new, and I love this because a lot of you guys call us and say, did you get my app? Is my app in? I can't check 900 applications, okay? And that's just state degrees. I can't do that. Brenda can't do that. And the rest of the team can't do that. Now, when your application goes in, you can, you'll hit on that state submission list, and it will be able to bring you to this list, which is a comprehensive document that is going to tell you the number of apps in the middle of the screen vertically, how many apps you have in for Agri-Science Fair, how many did you submit for American degree candidates, and you'll know which ones those are by clicking on View List. And when you view that list, it will tell you if you have 6 kids, when you hit View List, it will tell you the 6 kids that have their American degrees submitted in the submission manager. So I like this. I think this is going to help you guys identify what kids you have in your system and did the submission work correctly. And so I think this is just going to be a good tool to put a little bit of your anxiety at ease, knowing that your application is where it's supposed to be. Okay, any questions on the submission part? Great. Okay, how do I know it's been evaluated? Brenda and I will basically manage the reveal side of the evaluation when those dates have been released to reveal what the results were of the application status and if there was any feedback from the evaluation process itself. Again, R's equal return, A's equal approved. The check mark, the blue check mark, is the first evaluator who gets access to the application will put a check in that box, and they will follow with their rating. The second evaluator to look at the app in the process will simply put their R or A, which always has 2 letters in the box. And then your sticky note feedback will be below that status of the application, indicating to where you need to have the applications fixed or edited in terms of based on the records. So it's a pretty clear picture that when we release those back to you, you'll have access to see the status and the sticky note. If you have 2 R's or several R's or however many we have on these applications, you will know the difference between a removed app and an active app. The removed apps were either removed by the teacher, by the district, by the region, and it will say that there in red. So apps that have to go back and be edited and that version number is no longer valid, those applications will be removed, and you'll know they're removed because they're highlighted in a dark gray. And so again, let's say again you have an app that's in and it made it through the first round of your pre-evaluation, but you got to go to district evaluation, and the kid was like, "Oh, I forgot to put this in. I didn't finish up something correctly that month of December. I'm gonna make an edit." Then you need to make sure that you save your app and create that new PDF version. And then the teacher can remove their AA app, okay, from the submission manager and put in the new version to go to the next round. So, but that would have to be removed by the teacher. Nobody at the sub-district or district could remove that. That's a self-inflicted removal by the teacher, indicated by the student that maybe there was something that they had missed. And you might say, well, how does somebody know that I didn't change something? This is going to track every version number of an application that's submitted the whole way. So when you guys start submitting as early as January 10th, I believe I saw in some of the district submission dates, we will see the life of that application all the way through February 6th to when it comes to us. And if it gets returned more out of those dates, we will see how many times that it's grayed out with versions that have existed prior to the one that came to us. So we can see the life of those applications in this system. How do I resubmit? You're basically just going to read the feedback that came back on the sticky notes and hopefully interpret those notes correctly to make sure that you get the records corrected in the records. And then that change of records will then connect to the application in the interactive record book. And when that's the case, you're going to return back to that student application manager. You're going to click on those FFA awards, degree application manager, and you're going to repeat those. But for the student, they have to create and save that new version. So you're going to click that save print your app, and you will see then at the bottom that it says save and create new PDF. And when you do that, it moves you to step 6, which completes the process. You have a new version number with a new date, a new timestamp. You have a 0 not met, and you're ready to go. Okay, so that version number is now the new active, correct version of this student's application, and that's the one that is ready to go for the next round of submission. The teacher then is going to go back and repeat those steps 2 through 7 and put the most current version of the application back into the state submission list for the next round of evaluation. Now, Brenda and I believe, in the submission manager, do have a resubmit folder already set up for the resubmit versions on the second round of applications. And if we have to have a third, we can set up a third, but you'll clearly know which one of the categories in the state submission list is the one applicable to your degree manager. So you're just going to repeat that process. Any questions on submitting? Okay. So let's go look at a couple of just general tips on kind of some things. Do not add new state degree applications. Okay, we talked about this in the beginning. Every time you create a new application because you think you made a change and you need to create a new application, you are creating a laundry list of applications that you have no idea which is which. But in all honesty, they're the same because they're locked to your records. So every one of those applications are the same. The problem is which version number was a PDF created in, and you're trying to go back into stuff. So again, one application per student for the state degree, one application per student for the American degree, one proficiency area per student application as well. So again, a locked application allows the fluidity of the edits in the records to transform into the applications from a mathematical record point of existence. The new version number will always be the higher number than the previous version number submitted. Okay, so as your kids start stacking up version numbers on a resubmit, your number should be progressively getting higher each time. Just make sure you're going in the right direction and you have the right version number. Again, it will only give you the most recent version that has 0 not mets. It will not let you submit a draft form of an application. Apps that have not been returned most likely earned an A with no edits to recommend. So if application it doesn't say returned by somebody, it means it's still active in the system. So after you guys get through all of your rounds, your final round of district evaluations, and you have an AA, okay, you don't have to resubmit that in the state submission list. It's already there. It's already there. Okay. And if you're going to let it ride, that's fine. Let it ride. All right. But you don't have to resubmit coming out of district evaluation if you come out unscathed. Now, if you come out and you have AA and you're like, again, I want to change something. I think I need to clean something up based on some of the chatter at the pre-evaluation and district evaluations. I might just want to look at that a little bit differently. Then the teacher needs to remove that application and then resubmit before the February 6th, 9 p.m. deadline. Teachers may remove those. Again, that's what I talked about. But again, you're required to put that new version back in that state submission list before February 6th. Just some things for you guys to look at and make sure that you're familiar with, because this is what guides our process. The 2022 evaluation letter at the top of Ohio FFA page, programs, evaluation. Again, right in there at the top left is the evaluation letter. The second thing that's underneath of there is the memorandum of understanding between 4-H and FFA, existence of projects and awards. And so those things, again, are just two things that might just take a little time and review before you get too far into the process and have to maybe go back because you missed something. Alternative SAE records are to be uploaded using this link. So I'm under the impression that these alternative SAE records exist in a paper or a PDF or an export of records out of some other system that would need to be uploaded here for the evaluation points. And so that has not changed. It's ready to go. And just some guidance on evaluation system. Assistance as you move through here and you just kind of want to get a fast and friendly answer, and instead of going through all of us, I handle the degrees, stars, and proficiencies. Ryan is all things national chapter. Whitney is all things agri-science fair. Brenda, if you have a membership, name change, edits, anything like that, she is your go-to girl in FFA.org. Her and I talk quite frequently because sometimes it needs to be changed in both places. And so we correlate each other's work on that. District chairs will house your officer book questions, which we will get into here in just a second. Is there anything on SAE evaluation that we need to answer any questions or have a conversation? Okay. Officer books, districts are responsible for conducting their officer book evaluations during their pre-evaluations and must use scoring rubrics found on Ohio FFA. All district officer book results then must be submitted from the district chair to Brenda Corral by February 25th, 2022. And that is a new process on officer books this year being housed by your district itself. Honorary state and American degrees, as a reminder, applications can be found on Ohio FFA website. One application is for teachers of agriculture. The other one is for all others outside of teachers of agriculture. Those are due February 22nd, 2022. The links and the information are also found in the FFA evaluation letter. They are also on the FFA website under evaluations. The honorary American degree can be submitted through the FFA website, ffa.org. They are due June 1st. And those are the locations for that information. If you have folks and your stakeholder groups that might be deserving of those awards. I am going to have office hours starting next week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Topics are going to be in the newsletter. The link is in the newsletter weekly. I'm going to jump on 3:15 to 4:30 p.m. as long as the wheels don't fall off here during that time frame. But continue to send me your questions, your concerns via email, or you can text. If it's in terms of an SAE, if it's an applicable ag SAE, I like those things in writing so that we can continue to push those through the chain and make sure they're clear all the way, especially if this is going to be a student who would be pursuing an American FFA degree. And so those are approved by the state staff first before they advance to the American degree. And so we like to leave those lines of communication open to ensure that a kid has the best shot of completing all degree levels based on that SAE before just trying to run them through, not knowing what we might see on the other side. And so anytime you guys need anything, you guys know that I will help you and walk you through the processes. I am a 100% believer in AET. You guys know that. I think this is a system that teaches our kids the financial record keeping tools that they need, that when they walk outside of your program, they understand the commitment to, applying and filing taxes, as well as understanding financial documents that they're going to need over their life and in their families. And so we can talk about how we capture those things in AET from where they're at in developing those SAEs. With that being said, guys, my portion and all portions are complete. And if you have any questions,
Tracy, there is a question
in the chat. I just got off of it so I can see it.
You're fine.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff, for reminding me. I'm gonna let me go back. Okay, he's gonna talk about activities. So we check the ones that actually come to the application or evaluate them in the record books. You can use the activity sheets. Okay, that's one of the 2 pages that I think in a state degree you probably should look at in the application is the activity sheet and the cover sheet. The cover sheet because of GPA and attendance. The activities because those are the activities that the student has listed. But in all honesty, Jeff, if he has the ones that he has listed on the application should also be in the record, so those should match. Okay, and actually the record ones should probably be more comprehensive than the ones that are in the application, especially if we marked them lower than invitational level, because if you mark them lower than that, then they won't go to the application. So the actual records gives the student more opportunities for activities to be seen of what they've done in their comprehensive work, because they're all there. A student might have just mismarked one as chapter that clearly by the definition in the name or the journal underneath of it supports that that's an activity greater than a chapter level. Okay, so the records actually support a more extensive report of their activities. And again, what's in the application is directly what's coming from the record. So depending on what your confidence level is of understanding that, you may not ever have to go to the application to look at the activities because you understand how they're reported in the records in that interactive record book. That's a great question. Activities, 8 activities above the chapter level listed at the district or higher, and 2 CDEs that are listed at the district or higher. Okay, so your 8 activities above the chapter level cannot include the 2 CDEs that meet the CDE requirement. Okay, it's 8 and it's 2 CDEs. So if you have an extra state CDE, like you have 3 state CDEs that are recognized as state CDEs or elimination events based on your CDE chart that's on the evaluation page, then that extra CDE can be accounted as a activity above the chapter level. So again, those guides are on the evaluation page on ohioffa.org for that guidance. Jeff, I'm going to pull up those check sheets, and if I didn't answer your question, feel free to jump in here and we can talk about it to a greater extent if I did not cover what you meant for me to cover there. Okay, I do want to pull up this state degree review sheet, okay? And you guys should be seeing that right now. This is basically what you're going to guide your discussion on for the student feedback to the sticky note. If it's a no, you're going to add feedback on the sticky note. And these are the checkpoints that go along with it, okay? Stuff that's in red are things that I clarified for this year, okay? They've always been there, but we got into some discussion last year that I can just write down a CDE event and not put any reflection in it, and that counts. That counts. No, we're checking records. That record of CDE participation has with it a journal entry. And so those should be complete as well. I think one of the two things that we get into the most discussion about is when we start talking about SAE quality. And when we go to the annual scope or the annual review, which is the clipboard, okay? This is asking, all right? This is asking, does each of these agriculture-related SAEs in each year have a defined description of the project, identifying the type of animal, crop, business, or research that tells the student role and responsibility and or purpose of the SAE, okay? Note, this should be able to stand alone in understanding the kind of the SAE and how it is agriculture in nature. Brenda and I need to check that box because it got cut off on the PDF. Basically what this means, guys, is we come across a lot of applications that says Freddy's. What is that? Well, the kid marked placement. Freddy's, is that a ice cream shop? Is that a creamery? Is that a sheep operation? Is that a pet washing service? What is it? The name Freddy's with no description in the annual review on the clipboard tells me absolutely nothing as to what it is. Well, maybe Freddy's is a pet washing station in which the student, monitors and facilitates the number of customers that are in the self-bathing facility. And so the student, should have renamed the project Freddy's, dog bathing, and his role is that, he's a assistant operational director, scheduling appointments, cleaning up between dogs, XYZ, so that we know what that is, okay? We've also come across projects where somebody says market pigs. Well, automatically in Ohio, when you say market pigs, most people think of exhibition pigs. And commercial pigs and exhibition pigs are surely two different things. And so when we name those exhibition pigs that are exhibited on the FFA side, we should include, Fayette County Junior Fair market pigs 2021. Okay, so that tells me that I got market pigs. It tells me that they're exhibited at this county fair. It tells me it was the 21 version of that market exhibition project in FFA. So those are things that help us define that. In the SAE plan, here's another hang up, okay? Does each SAE description define scope, duration, employer name, title, position, if a job, defines the terms of payments, products, production handled related to the SAE type? Okay. Again, student uses Freddy's, okay? Again, I have no idea from that first box what this thing is. I have no idea what the student role is. I don't even know what they handle in terms of products. So if they do a bad job in the clipboard, hopefully in the description, we should be able to tell what this project is, okay? So use your common sense here, that when they identify a job or an entrepreneurship, that the things that help us identify a quality project are identified in there. No, an entrepreneurship project is not going to have an employer name. No, they're not going to have a title of a position, okay? And it closes in that sentence, related to the SAE type, okay? So use common sense here of whether or not the description fits the SAE that they're trying to describe. The other thing is if you use any templates that I've created or we've used somewhere else, which I did send you guys all templates earlier this school year. I did not give them as these are what you need to use. I simply gave you guys those as a resource to help facilitate the movement of the planning tabs a little bit easier in your classroom time. But templates mine or Roger's on AET that are blank and don't read with identifying numbers, duration, scope, those are incomplete. Those are going back. That is a return. Copying and pasting a template does not equal a completed plan, time, financial tab. Okay. So the students need to identify those things applicable to their project that are occurring in the description, in the time, in the financial tab. Okay. The SAE plans, does each SAE have learning objectives? I think AET requires you to have 3. I said 2. I'm not getting hung up on this, but when students plan and we talk about transferable knowledge that may lead to work-based learning hours, one of the targets of work-based learning is that the student has learning objectives and outcomes. And so again, if we're going to start moving these things and using these multiple ways in credential and work-based learning, we need to make sure that we have them adequately supported in the learning objective tab. Budgets, they got to have the budgets done on entrepreneurship. I personally liked using the memo side of the budget to help the student explain, why do I have $250 for shavings for market birds? Well, if I have 50 birds, I'm going to go through X amount of shavings per week at, $6 a bag. And it helps the kid facilitate seeing where that money is originating in the budget. Not saying that you have to, but again, it's just a good way to help the student see where and how they're spending their money in an SAE. Finances, guys, I think it cleans it up a lot. Your Scholastic is on the bottom. Is there anything in here that can contribute to the good of the whole? The American degree, guys, is just like this, except for the activities section comes out. And it's all pretty much SAE based and community service based. Anything here? Talk about using state convention. Okay. State convention. Guys, it's just like before. Based on your professional teacher acknowledgement and professional code of conducts that come with your teacher licensure, if you can verify that a student in chapter conducted a virtual chapter activity for state convention, then you're signing off on that application that occurred. So yes, virtual 2021 was viable for the state degree. 2020 celebration, state FFA celebration, that was only eligible to the 2020 grads. So if you got a student who graduated and is applying for that state degree this year, it's still in play for the 2020 grads. Nothing needed in particular on that, straight up. If you guys are using mission impact conferences, again, those are on the calendar. I would click on them and add to them. The only thing is, you guys have to remember that the end date to the application, when you go into basic setup on your state degree, you need to change that basic setup to 12/31/21, which means you will have to backdate that entry into 12/31 in order for that mission or impact conference to come across to that 2022 award application. That's the only one that we have basically a gentleman's agreement on, as well as the leadership nights. Again, the rule of thumb, okay? I should have put this in the slide because I know I put it in the other one. The rule of thumb is it has to happen before the first round of evaluation, okay? And if we make this messy, this is probably going to come up in advisory as looking at maybe a different way of conducting those items of business because the year ends 12/31 of 21. Okay. So the rule of thumb on the gentleman's agreement is those things must occur before the first round of evaluation in your district/area. Okay. What qualifies as a reflection for a CDE and other red highlighted components related to the reflection? Okay, so, a reflection, if I competed in the state food science contest, my reflection is competed with my team at the state food science. We did, triangle test, ABC, food quality, blah, 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 and the team activity. Individually, I can pull those results off of judging card. As a team, we placed X. There's my reflection. Okay, so just basically the kid highlighting what occurred on that particular day. When a student participates in an event at their church that is a community event, a monthly meal, live nativity versus a church event, church choir, altar boy, how should it be worded so it counts? Okay, so again, it's not about wording it so it counts. Okay, that gives me a little bit of anxiety when we phrase a question that way. Again, I think if we look at the guidance that National FFA gives us, and we really truly look at what is a community service event, in my opinion, going to church is not community service. Church choir, I don't know if that's a community event. Alyssa and Matt, we might need some backup here. But if they are working in an activity that is like seasonal, like you said, in a nativity scene, for me, that might be a little bit more of a community service other than a regular, church choir. I don't know. I don't have that guidance document right in front of me right now. Alyssa or Matt might be on here, I think. So Matt.
Yeah, I can help. And it's not so much just like, I don't want you to think of it in the concept of church. I mean, like we've said this, it's with any activity that's community service. It's more or less like what the action is and what the impact of the community is. So if a student is part of any organization, whether it's 4-H, FFA, church, their high school, whatever it may be, if they're a member and the action benefits the actual organization in which the student is a member, National FFA does not see that as a community service. So in that particular case, using your church example, the altar boy or choir would not necessarily count because it benefits the congregation and the church membership. However, a live nativity scene or something along those lines, or a community meal or function, would, just as a community service that the FFA chapter does, that benefits the entire community. If it's something that benefits the chapter itself, then it would not count. So again, it's not whether or not it occurs at church or not. It is the actual action and who is benefiting. And so just keep that in mind when you're determining those community service activities. And that's where they're typically going to fall. So I hope that helps clear it up.
All right, submission eligible scan card mean on the CDE chart. Okay, based on how the operation of CDEs has been evaluated this year, an eligible scan card means that the card the card is submitted by a eligible FFA member at the time of the event. So when we checked membership on these things, and we had over 100 last year at spring CDEs, that is an ineligible card now. Membership must be held by the member at the time of the event. So that would be an ineligible card. A student who bubbles the wrong school number on a card, that activity is not eligible because that kid marked a card for a wrong school. And that card becomes a DQ based on those new CDE rules and guidances. So an eligible scan card means that when that card is turned in, and there are rules in certain contests that when that card is turned in, it counts as a state CDE, and there's a whole chart of the CDEs. At what point does that event count as an elimination or a state CDE event? That's based on that CDE chart. Okay, so Matt, going back to community service, the group served, and I haven't looked at this application, group served, wouldn't it be the Loudonville community? Wouldn't that be the church group that delivered the service?
Again, I was just using the reference that Kendra that you had made there in your actual question. The group served would, the group served would be probably the congregation, I would guess. I'm just using.
I know what she's talking about. On the application, it gets a little wonky.
Yes, yeah. On the application part, yes, I got you. There's the quotations. I see that. Yes, if that's the case, then the group served would be the Loudonville community. Hopefully that helps clear it up. That's how you would list that. Thank you.
Under this, okay. Okay, Matt, another community service is what about scholarship money fundraisers that ultimately go to students in that organization or community?
John will probably have to let me do some research on that one, and we'll get back with you. Probably send me a follow-up email on that one. I don't want to make a wrong decision that probably just requires me to take a look a little deeper into that guidance requirement, and to probably, especially if it's an American degree. I mean, it's National FFA that's going to determine the community service component when they get it to their point. So I just want to make sure that I would double check with them. So John, email me on that one, and we'll try to get you a better answer.
Thank you, Matt. There's a question under the state degree requirement of above the chapter level activities. There's a category called ag promotion. Okay, those categories on that activity above the chapter level guidance document, those came from the old state degree. So there's obviously that population that remember that old state degree are getting fewer, and we're moving into a transitional period where you never even know what that document meant. But basically what it did is it helps categorize things that count above the chapter level in terms of ag promotion. So for example, there may be a school that does a fair booth during the county fair, and the kids have to put that up, assemble it. Not that you, just because you have one doesn't mean that you get you get an activity, but were you actively involved in creating your fair booth for the county fair or a festival. And there's also some that do booths for national convention on the Hall of States. That's a an ag promotion. Maybe your school is doing a lot of this happens in career centers where programs will host sophomores for the day, doing some promoting of their programs, trying to recruit student enrollment in the next school year cycle. And that certainly is an ag promotion. So those kinds of things, when you read across those boxes, should indicate what kind of activities in general would constitute an ag ed promotion. By no means is that guide document meant to be a verbatim activities that generate these things, but should give you some points to ponder about thinking about what activities truly are above the chapter level. Okay. All right. Anything else to the good of the cause on evaluation? Whether it's some national chapter questions, whether it's some agri-science fair questions, anything like that that you guys still feel you need additional guidance. Okay, with that being said, know that I am here on Tuesdays and Thursdays in office hours, 3:15 to 4:30. That does not mean that I'm not available any other time. You guys know that when you access my cell phone, I will pick it up almost anywhere, anytime. And so I do apologize in advance if some sheep are bellowing in the background. But I just tuck you away and we'll talk as long as services facilitated in the barn while we're doing those things. And I don't have any problems doing that to help you guys, because I know when you call me, you're usually in the moment with a student working through some considerations on record keeping.
Sure.
Yeah, Matt.
I've got a clarification here on the community service question. I've already got an answer. I've consulted here while I was on mute.
Okay.
So like if John, the example that you're giving is an FFA, and just use an FFA example on community service, let's say that the FFA chapter is raising scholarship money through fundraisers, and that money goes only and exclusively only to members in the FFA chapter, then the answer would be National FFA would not see that as community service. If it goes to a community that FFA is raising money for a scholarship and FFA members can't apply, but so can other folks in the community apply, then they would typically see that as a community service. So again, kind of going back, that if the action or the activity itself benefits only the organization or the members of the organization in which the student is a member of, then they would not see that as community service. If it's more open and they can participate in it as well as others in the community, then they would see that being more of a community service. I hope that helps provide some clarification. So that's what I found out, Wendy. I know that you had said that you'd like for me to find out and share with the group. So I figured I'd better get on that as quick as I could.
So this year's officers can still take paper reporter's book to judging. It's a district decision. Depending on when your evaluation is of your officer books are. So those questions need to be directed to your district chair. Anything else? Okay, so Alyssa, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and here we go. Evaluation season is upon us, and it is officially white outside my house. So we got one checkbox marked and are waiting on the others. But again, guys, I wish you the best getting through this. Make it meaningful for your students. If it doesn't mean anything to them, you probably shouldn't really worry about it making meaning to yourself. And again, if you need help, guidance, and assistance, I'm here to offer that to you. Thanks. Alyssa?
Thanks, Tracy. And again, thanks for all of you guys to take the time and join us this afternoon. Always feel free to reach out to us as you need assistance. And we will get this recording downloaded and posted to the website as soon as possible. I hope that you guys have a good evaluation season, and I look forward to seeing you guys throughout the rest of the events this year. Thanks.